reports, guest recognitions, employee recognitions, and proclamations. Mr. Rice, I believe you have one recognition tonight.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Mayor Cato sends his regrets. He's traveling out of state tonight, but he wanted to make sure that he thanked Kelly Bradford. And we're going to make you come down here and stand up front, bring your crew with you. So come on and make your way down this way. He sent me some official comments, and then I'm just going to tell some stories on you from when we worked together a long time ago. Kelly is a member of our building inspections department. She's here tonight with her daughter Abby and her granddaughter Presley. And I also understand that we want to recognize her husband Randy and her daughters Megan and Brittany, who I think maybe were not able to be here. Is that right? Okay. So Kelly began her career in September of 1997 as a senior clerk, and later that job title was changed to administrative assistant senior. For the past 25 years, Kelly's been assisting the citizens of Hoover and a lot of contractors who have helped to build our city, working in the city limits of Hoover. She's one of the first people that greets contractors and citizens at our window and building inspections when they need assistance, and her responsibilities include issuing permits, scheduling inspections, and making sure that plans examiners and building inspectors have the information they need and that they go where they're supposed to go, right, Kelly? She directs citizens to the correct department and gives physical directions when needed. And she brings 25 years of knowledge to her fellow employees and is always willing to help and train new employees who've come to sit alongside her over the years. She's a very valuable and dedicated employee, and we appreciate all you do. And I remember when the house was up here on the hill, which a lot of employees don't know ever existed, and you worked down in what used to be the garage of that house that had been converted into the plans room, and I worked in the trailer next door, and that was a long time ago. But we still look okay. So we appreciate you, and we have a recognition service pin for you and a certificate. We thank you for everything you've done for the city. Mr. President, I think that's it.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Wendy, if you'll please note that Mr. Murphy has joined us as well. And I'd like to recognize two former council members in the House, Councilman Joe Reeves and former Council President Gene Smith, for joining us tonight for this really short meeting. Okay, from there we'll move to our consent agenda. There are 3 items on this agenda. Is there any member that wishes to pull any of these items off to the regular agenda? Okay. Anyone from the public wish to pull any of these 3 items off for the regular agenda? Okay, seeing and hearing none. Mr. Corley, if we will read the items on the consent agenda.
Resolution number 678722 approves an alcohol license for Unique Catering KE LLC, doing business as Jumbo Grill, located at 1845 Montgomery Highway, Suite 207, for the sale of 020 restaurant retail liquor. Resolution number 678822 authorizes Mayor Brocato or his designee to enter into an agreement with Johnson Controls, Inc., to renew an agreement for maintenance on HVAC units at Hoover City Hall and to execute any and all documents necessary for the execution of such agreement. And Resolution 678922 authorizes Mayor Brocato or his designee to enter into an agreement with Knox Pest Control to renew an agreement for pest control services at various municipal properties detailed in Exhibit 1 and to execute any and all documents necessary for this agreement.
Mr. President, I move for approval of all items on the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? None? All right. All approve? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Moving on to the regular agenda with resolution number 6785-22. Mr. Corley.
This resolution authorizes acceptance of the bid of Avery Landscape and Associates LLC in the amount of $244,243 for the Inverness Park Sewer Rehab bid number 22-015 for the safe and proper functioning of the city's Inverness sewer system and authorizing Mayor Mercado to execute an agreement for such. It also declares a public improvement, a public purpose for the repairs.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of resolution number 678522.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions about this from the council? I know we discussed this in detail at our work session on Thursday night.
Mr. Chair, just one question. Do we have any contingencies in this particular bid?
Mr. Reeves?
No contingencies? Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Any questions from the audience? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The motion passes. Okay, moving to item number 10, resolution number 6790-22, Mr. Corley.
This includes a public hearing, and it declares a public nuisance as to certain failed drainage on properties in the area to the south of Lorna Road near the intersection of Highway 31 in the city of Hoover, Alabama, and requires the immediate abatement of such failed drainage systems. Following the passage of this resolution, the city attorney is authorized to file and maintain a civil action to enjoin and abate this public nuisance.
Mr. President, I move for approval of resolution number 679022.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This is a public hearing, so we will start with comments for or against this item. Mr. Rice, did you want to start tonight? Yes, sir. Okay. If there's no questions, anyone from the audience wishes to speak on this item? Yes, sir. So what we're going to do is we're going to give everybody 3 minutes to speak on this item. If you do wish to speak on this item, we ask that you please make your way down. So after he's done, then we can go to the next comment. So begin by giving us your name and address, and then, sir, you have 3 minutes for your statement.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise for my customary 3 minutes again, and greetings to those city councilmen that I have seen before. My name is Aaron McLeod. My address is 1984 Shallowby Way in Ross Bridge, but I am here in a representative capacity as counsel for the landowner affected, one of the landowners affected by this resolution. Tria River Chase Village is the owner of the property on which sits the former Whole Foods, the Best Buy, and various parts of that large shopping center that's bordered by Lorna Road and Highway 31. 2 points I want to make in the brief time I'm allotted on this resolution. First, despite the language of the resolution, my client and others, and you'll hear from some others tonight, have been in litigation over this failed drainage for some time. Expert witnesses have been obtained. Testimony has been heard from fact witnesses. It is not in dispute that the only nuisance identified in this resolution, i.e. the Highway 31 flooding, is caused by the collapsed 6-foot pipe wholly located underneath the land owned by my client's neighbor, underneath Regina Investment Corporation's land. That's the owner of the land on which the Walgreens and the Panda Express are located at the corner of Lorna and Highway 31. So the point is, there is no evidence of a nuisance under Tria's land. There is no failed pipe under my client's land. The failed pipe, which is causing the Highway 31 flooding, is entirely, undisputedly located under Regina's land. It's in between, in fact, the Panda Express and the Walgreens. It's underneath the Panda drive-through. You can go by and see the fence around it to this day. The second point is that the city itself is contributing a substantial amount of stormwater runoff into the pipe and the system that has failed. The surveys have been obtained. I have with me an expert witness, Mr. David Coley, a civil engineer, who is happy to come and speak for 3 minutes if the council would like to hear from him. But once again, there's not going to be much dispute in the parties in this case to the fact that the city is dumping substantial runoff from Lorna Road by means of a pipe that connects to the collapsed pipe and from Data Drive behind and uphill of my client's property. So I urge the city council members to bear in mind before you authorize an attorney to file a lawsuit against my client that the evidence will bear out that the city is itself a substantial user of this pipe, contributes a substantial amount of stormwater runoff into this pipe, and so itself will bear a significant amount of responsibility for the use or the misuse of this pipe and the expense of any repair. I thank you for that, Mr. President, and I will ask if it is the council's pleasure, I'll have Mr. Coley come down and speak. If not, we will move on to, I think, counsel for Regina.
Thank you, sir. Let's move on to the other council. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Good evening. My name is Wilson Green. I live at 3848 Glencoe in Birmingham. I'm here in a representative capacity. I represent Regina Investment Corporation, which is the owner of the property on which sits the Walgreens and the Panda. This is my first time, obviously, in front of you. I'm not going to belabor the point. Mr. McLeod has covered the waterfront. That's a terrible pun in the context of what we're talking about here, and it's a serious problem. I would wish to tell you only this. Obviously, your city attorney and we have been in communication for a number of months about all of this. Our position in connection with this is that the drainage that is running through the 72-inch main that's underneath our property is not water that's coming from Regina. It's coming from our neighbor Trea, but most importantly, and as Mr. McLeod rightly said, it's coming off Lorna Road, it's coming off Data Drive, it's coming from a number of points of collection. And we believe, based on the evidence that's been adduced in the ongoing civil litigation, that this is actually publicly dedicated. This is a publicly dedicated system. It's been publicly dedicated and it's being publicly used. And so we believe it's inappropriate for the council to declare it a public nuisance because it's frankly the public responsibility. It's inappropriate to declare something a public nuisance for which the city bears responsibility to operate and maintain. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to speak during this public hearing for or against this item? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing. We have a motion and a second on this item. Any further discussion from the council? Any from the audience? All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The motion passes. Moving on to number 12, which is an item that will require unanimous consent. If everyone remembers, that's where we suspend the rules. It requires everyone to agree to that. Item 11. Okay, I'm going to go back to 11 then. That's great. Sorry about that. And that's the one I really am excited about. Okay, let's go to number 11, resolution number 6786-22. Mr. Corley.
This resolution authorizes Mayor Brocato or his designee to execute and submit applications as well as any other documentation necessary to apply for federal funding assistance from FEMA for the 2022 Flood Mitigation Assistance Program and the 2022 Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities Program.
Mr. President, I move for approval of resolution number 678622.
Second.
For motion and second, we talked about this extensively at our work session, and I attended a meeting on this as well and heard about it. I think it's a great thing, and I think it's something that's going to help a lot of people in our city once they see this process. And if I remember correctly, Mr. Rice, as soon as this is passed tonight, we'll start seeing advertisement on social media and some information about this program. Is that correct? Very shortly thereafter. Wonderful. Okay. Any questions about this item from the council?
Mr. President, I would just add, drainage has been a hot topic, and I know some people in my own neighborhood have experienced a lot of damage. And I said a few months ago that each one of these cases is different, and each one has to be addressed differently. But I'm excited that this will possibly significantly address a certain group of people in a certain group of circumstances. So it's exciting, and I appreciate the city's continued effort to find solutions where possible. So.
Thank you. Any questions from the audience about this item or comments from the audience? Okay, hearing none, I apologize for almost skipping it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. And it passes. Now we will go to 12. And as I was saying, 12 requires us to suspend the rules for immediate consideration. So, Mr. Corley, if you will read ordinance number 22-2580.
This ordinance approves the final 10% of the budget for the city of Hoover, Alabama for the period beginning October 1, 2021 through September 30, 2022.
Mr. President, I move that we suspend the rules for immediate consideration of ordinance number 222580.
Second.
We have a motion to second. Clerk, please call the roll so that we may suspend the rule.
Mr. Sweeney?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Mr. Shaw?
Aye.
Dr. Middlebrooks?
Aye.
Mr. McClinton?
Aye.
Mr. Posey?
Aye. Now, Mr. Corley, if you were reading ordinance number 22-2580 again, so we can consider it this evening.
Yes, this ordinance approves the final 10% of the budget for City of Hoover, Alabama for the period beginning October 1, 2021 through September 30, 2022.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt ordinance number 222580.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Before we go to comments, I just want to make it clear that the reason we are suspending the rules and doing this evening is because we had years ago adopted where we do 90% of the budget, and then at the end of the year, we adopt 10% of the budget. This is so that that last 10%, we can negotiate within those last 30 days to pay the bills before we come back in a couple of weeks from now and pass the budget for the next year, since we are on the fiscal year. Any comments or questions from the council on this item? Any from the audience? Okay. Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Ms. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Sweeney?
Aye.
Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Mr. Shaw? Dr. Middlebrooks?
Aye.
Mr. McClinton?
Aye.
Mr. Posey?
Aye, the motion passes. Next up is a first reading of ordinance number 22-2581. Mr. Corley.
This ordinance authorizes the annexation of property located at 5332 Old Highway 280 in Shelby County, Alabama, South Central Bell Telephone. A public hearing is set for October 3rd, 2022.
Thank you, sir. On October 3rd, we will consider this item and have a public hearing. That brings us to the end of our